We are all ashamed of you too.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no. The forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa. You can make us see it your way. No way. Gasoline and propane. More flames. Oh no. No more snowflakes.
We can all get along, but there's no stopping. Ay, everybody's wrong, that's a real problem. Ay, they don't want to hear it, but they still talking. Ay, soon enough, we running out of options. Ay, this ain't gonna end till it's in the coffin. Ay, we ain't gonna be friends till we try to squash it. Ay, I don't know how we can make amends or we drop it. Snowflakes melt when it's hot, kid.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no. The forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa. You can make us see it your way. No way. Gasoline and propane. More flames. Oh no. No more snowflakes.
Hey guys, this is Amária Sweet with HeartMind Expressions and the Fab Four. And I've got Sue McClure and, of course, our AlexSpielman with us. We've got some interesting stuff going on lately, don't we, guys? So real quick, some plugs. Thanks so much again to our beautiful Katie Kamara with Kamara Holistic Connections and C4OC Radio Network, as well as Rev Radio Las Vegas. Thank you so much for listeners. We love you guys, appreciate you all. And here we go, guys. So, what's new in the world, guys?
Is there actually such thing as anything new? Looks like we would just be
Probably
recycling over and over and over again.
Right?
Rinse, lather, and repeat every single decade.
Bam, nailed it. I think it's generations too, like thousands of years.
I know, can you just imagine us sitting on a porch someday, old in a rocking chair, going, man, that was some heck of a, battle. Digital war that we were in and how we, went around the swamp and all that.
Oh, goodness, right?
I know, Sue. I still can't get the water out of my ear after all those times.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you
those
kind of have
gators, they
seaweed
don't
slush
mess around.
still stuck between your toes, eh?
I don't think I'll ever get used to walking on solid ground after sloshing in the swamp so much.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
definitely. Definitely. I mean, still, just trying to get the Biden sniffing out of my ear. Blech.
It's kind of like a crazy rabbit or something.
Don't tell me that somebody did not make an ASMR out of that.
Oh no!
No, especially not with the Trix bunny.
Oh boy.
Oh shoot!
I'm telling you, it is a slippery slope, that rabbit hole. You just once you pop, you cannot stop. Oh wait, Pringles already told us that.
Are you hungry, Alex?
What?
Are you hungry, Alex?
I'm always hungry for knowledge. What are you talking about?
He's my big Taurus baby brother, so of course he's gonna have food on his mind. All of us with any Taurus placements have food on our minds. It's foodie things,
Yummy.
right? Nom nom nom. Food
I
and
love
naps
food.
and happy bellies, and that's the best of all.
The army
Yeah,
marks on
especially-
his stomach.
He loves his belly rubs, definitely.
We all do, don't we? I mean, come on. They feel nice. I mean, it's kind of it's like, why do puppies like it? It's nice.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you prefer, the belly rub or the back rub? That's what I always wondered.
Ooh, that's when you're just like, yes, please, on both. Is that acceptable?
I don't like unsolicited back rubs. I think
Well, it's solicited. I got my sweetheart, so it's definitely welcome by him.
of course.
I always wonder. That was always a choice that I would ask people, Kind of like, belly rub, back rub. Well, I'm probably more of a back rub than a belly rub type.
I just like choices.
I mean,
I'm like,
and then
yeah.
a lot of land.
Well, as long as you don't rub, I personally don't care as long as you don't rub me the wrong way.
Well, of course.
Well, that in all things in life.
Shoot. So there's a few things that you guys were bringing up earlier that I'm kind of intrigued, Alex. So
Oh, my name was just said.
it was.
Oh, what did I do?
Well, you know how it's been with me lately, not being able to be on everything all the time, working as much as I do. So
Yes.
I love getting on here because I'm learning with everybody else a lot of times. And I appreciate you guys so much because the stuff you guys brought up tonight, let me tell you guys, you're going to want to hear that. So let's rock and roll and get to the meat. Yeah, let's go for it, baby.
Into the nitty-gritty once more. So we got a few interesting things in this weekly review. One is that we got a development in the Twitter story. As you know, for the last few months, there has been in Twitter and how exactly that purchase was going to go through. Then they were going to go to court. And now it looks like they're going to go to court. Looks like Twitter's stock started dropping like a rock.
Interesting.
So Elon's like, hey, how about that original offer I gave you? I bet that's looking real good right now.
Right?
And then they go, yes, definitely, we like that. It looks really good. Right, okay. Now, give me everything. Exactly. And they want, from what I was hearing, they want this closed before the end of the month.
Fascinating.
And
so do you think that Musk is actually going to go through with it and actually buy it then?
No, he put out the offer and they already accepted it. They're in the process of closing the deal.
Oh, nice. That should be interesting.
Now catches into that, though. Alex will be talking about us with these catches, you know.
There is a huge caveat there that I had in my head.
That's what I'm pretty much thinking. Because anytime you're bringing this stuff up, that little genius mind of yours is spinning. So I like to hear what you got to say on it. So let's hear it.
Well, when we think about the original terms of the deal, it had to do with bots, right? Well, what if they go to Elon gets full control, and he looks at the bots, and he says, "Wait a minute, these are not the amount of active users that you told me that you had. This is a previous contract. And so now I'm going to sue you for fraudulent actions in this deal."
I like it.
So theoretically, not a lawyer, but this is me spitballing what he might do. He might go, "Hey, you violated our contract, so it's completely null and void, and I'm also going to get my money back." While at the same time keeping control of the company.
Yeah, right? So it'd be kind of like, putting, having a coin with a hole in it and putting it in a vending machine with a string on it, pulling in, picking your product and pulling in the coin back out. You actually get the product, but, not really paying for it.
Right.
Now, how wonderful would that be, spending all that money and then them getting a single penny? You would literally get a social media company for free. That's funny.
Do you know how many Swamp members' head would explode if it works out that way?
And then you also have to consider that Elon Musk is the #1 highest paid military contractor.
Yeah.
So not only is he doing it there, but he's also giving it to the federal government with the contract money. Which then that means they can now follow. Since it's doing that, they were supposed to do that because a lot of them were already doing stuff in the background, but now it would be overt versus covert.
Yeah.
So now they actually have to file. They also actually have to follow First Amendment.
Interesting.
And also Fourth Amendment too. True, Fourth Amendment. Yeah.
So do you want to explain to our wonderful audience, because I know a lot of us, it's been a while since we've taken civics, and some people actually unfortunately have never had it because, well, yeah. So would you like to explain to our lovely audience what all this means?
Okay, so First Amendment is pretty much, I think, one that most of us know. It's the freedom of speech, press. You're allowed to peacefully assemble. You're allowed to peacefully address your grievances with your officials, and it also protects your right to practice religion.
Right.
Or
not. So
not. Either or. You cannot. Basically, the First Amendment makes it so that they cannot establish a state religion.
Exactly. And so part of the thing, I'm going to interject here, Bonneville Communications, which is owned by the Mormon Church, actually has a lot of say in politics. So there's one example of a big no-no with a church mixing state and then taking their practices to law. And so it's pretty much really fucked with the state of Utah in a lot of areas. So anyway, moving forward.
Well, the Second Amendment, by the way, just ensures that the First Amendment works out.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned the Fourth Amendment. Do you want to mention
Fourth
how
Amendment.
this works?
Fourth Amendment is the protection of unlawful search and seizure without the right of a duly issued warrant, a lawfully issued warrant. Now, why you would be asking?
Uh-oh.
You just blanked out, babe.
Yep.
Hey, bud. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we've been having this. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the option of fiber optics like some of us have. And so the internet can't cut out.
A lot of times when we talk about sensitive topics, this happens too. So I don't think there's much of a coincidence. I think there's definitely something going on.
They have to have and it's like,
you might want to start all over on the 4th. The minute you started talking about it, it dimped out on you.
We caught the search and seizure part.
Unlawful search and seizure. Most people think it's just about a car or a house or your personal possessions, right?
Exactly.
Well, it also affects the digital world,
right?
Because they're still part of your own possessions.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't have a legitimate reason why they did that, I mean, obviously, if it's against terms and conditions, that's fine, so long as they're able to point out which term and condition that actually is.
Right.
But otherwise,
there's a lot of laws being violated.
So basically, they can't do it, and you can actually file that it was a violation of your Fourth Amendment if it's like a person who is a federal contractor, most likely.
Oh, that's really cool.
Well, once again, not a lawyer, but that is what that's how it's been explained to me.
Right. Which is really cool because a lot of people don't know how to use the law, and just like Thomas Jefferson said, in lesser terms or more terms, if you don't know how to use the law or don't understand the law, basically you don't have any freedoms, nor do you deserve them, that's kind of sad that it comes from that kind of person. But that's what these elites feel like. If you can't even understand your own laws, then they're like, well, fuck it, we're just going to take them from you. So we need to start paying more attention to what's going on around us.
Yeah, it's actually very, very important because, I mean, look what they've done to us. They've actually taken advantage of us because of our ignorance of what we perceive of how this country in particular should be run. And we could all talk about how the rest of the planet is being run, but here in the United States, we have it running a certain way, and it's not run the way that it's supposed to be. We have career politicians that are just literally been taking advantage of all of us. We fell asleep at the wheel and let them run the show, and they went to town with it. And so now we woke up and we realized we missed all of our bus stops, as to put it, and now we're trying to push track everything and put the right back with the United States. And it's a kind of a bit of a journey to do that, because now we have to convince the people this is how it's supposed to be done, while the career politicians are going, no, this is how it's supposed to be done. And that's where all the back and forth is, and that's why they call this war that we're in is information war, because they've already tried the guns blazing one for years, Apparently, it didn't work. So now they're trying what we call MK Ultra, Mind One, and what?
And that's been going on
yeah.
since World War One, World War
Yeah.
Two, 30s, 40s, maybe earlier for all we know.
And they have their technology cranked up to the max, and they're doing everything they can to mess with our heads. Especially with the voice to call.
Butt hurt on every little thing. You can't even have
Especially with the voice to call technology. They're
Exactly.
basically using a lot of that, and that's why you see people just walk up and start slapping drinks out of other people's hands and stuff like that. These aggressive Karen behaviors, Carl behaviors, and it's just been increasing. I mean, just recently I saw people just walking up to somebody else and then start beating them down.
Whoa.
Just
I haven't
literally
seen those, but that's insane.
Yeah, it is just simply, beating up people right now.
Jeez.
The corrupt are pointing their fingers at the Jewish community now, and are basically trying to root them out, and that's all it is doing is putting programs into people's head. Hey, let's start beating up the Jewish folks, and I mean it's just gone absolutely nuts. They're literally targeting people, and it's gotten seriously out of hand now. And just people walking up the street and just beating you up because just how you look, or how you're dressed, or whatever, and gone as far as how you think or what you've said. There's people that are on YouTube. There's people are on, Twitter. There's people are on, Instagram, and people that are on TikTok, and they would, voice their opinion, whether there's political opinion or just moral construct type opinions. And then, people would seek them out and then go beat them up or destroy their businesses. There was a lady that had a coffee shop or something, and she just put out an advertisement to get together with the police force, and have a coffee day. And then, the people in that town can just get together with the police and have coffee and talk, But instead, Antifa came over and banged the hell out of the place, and literally it's destroyed. They put paint everywhere. They broke all the windows, in full force. And
Antifa crap needs to
that's their foot
hike.
And a lot of people may not understand who Antifa is, but that's basically the deep state's foot soldiers.
Right. Bunch of crybabies.
One of them. There was another major thing that just happened this week.
What's that?
Yeah.
The man named Eugene Yu was just arrested by the Los Angeles District Attorney.
Really? For what?
Eugene Yu is a CEO of a company called Connect. And Connect deals with election software and hardware. So one of the programs they use is something called Poll Chief, which is a program that poll workers will use in certain locations around the country. And this is a name that was circling around the Anon community for the better half of the summer. And the reason why his name was brought up was because it was found that Connect, through you and other members of Connect, their servers were actually based in mainland China.
Oh, I think I heard that. I think I do remember hearing that about that.
And so the thought process was, it sounds like China is taking our voting information and is using that information to infiltrate elections.
Jeez, why does that not surprise me at all?
Well, and so this week he was arrested on drum roll, please. Information harvesting.
Ooh, jeez.
Yeah.
These guys love violating constitutional rights yet again.
Well, this is an election under really on the top of foreign interference, which is not allowed.
Well, it's a felony, not just a felony.
Yeah.
It's treason. That's That's
That's what I
basically
mean.
punishable
Yeah.
by death.
Well, we know a lot of them are doing treason. Definitely, they've all been marked for it.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that they get into these messes and they don't even realize what they're doing is treason sometimes.
Right.
So, yeah, so be careful what you
Well, and that's why
what you
they've
decide
got
to
like
do.
I think the different levels in the tribunals of, okay, is this person innocent? Do they walk, which isn't very many? Is this person guilty but repentant? Okay, maybe we'll jail them or whatever. Or is this person just totally blatantly, they knew everything, blah blah blah? That's death.
So his charge is, suspicion of theft of personal identifying information, and for poll
Wow.
worker data they acquired being allegedly stored on the servers in China. And this is in contrary to claims of the company that said that they only base it in the United States.
Oh, of course,
And that is actually a quote coming from the Jordan Sather's Substack.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he has a whole
Wow.
article that he wrote that explains this. But this was a thing that a lot of people were like. So the New York Times, the famous New York Times paper,
Right.
wrote on a what are they called? They had an article that said conspiracy theory, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, conspiracy theories of talk about election meddling, right? That's what they
Funny
said.
how they keep going back to their conspiracy theories horse shit. Like I think it's more like conspiracy fact, but okay.
So Tuesday, so that was the Tuesday. It was basically talking about how conspiracy theories were dealing with election meddling. Wednesday, it says Eugene Yu arrested by LADA for information meddling.
Oh snap!
And it was the same writer.
Good job, buddy.
It's like, you guys even do your research?
I don't think they do. Some of the conversations I have these days, I'm just like so baffled. I'm like, I have no words right now. I'm just gonna be like, whoa.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing how people would actually go to Google and they say they're doing their research. They would go to the Google, whatever it is I talk about, they would go on Google on their phone and they would look at it and say, well, the first 5 articles said that that's not true. It's a conspiracy theory. It's, fact checker said it's not true, so it's not. You got that wrong
I'm
too.
sorry.
I'm sorry. But who owns those people? And who
Yeah,
owns,
exactly.
and where does the money trail go? And
they don't believe in that. That's the hard part, to get people to realize that, the people that are doing the stuff to us are the same people that own all of that stuff. So who goes around speaking heck about themselves? You know what I mean?
Well, and a lot of people.
I don't know anybody who would sit down at the desk and try to write bad news about themselves and the crimes that they've done and stuff like that. I mean, you're not going to. Of course, you're going to say, well, no, it's not happening. It's fake news,
Exactly.
So it's that's just the hardest thing to get people to realize, that who owns all of these things. They can't wrap their heads around the fact, because they believe that there's a separate entity out there that's check and balancing these people. That's what they believe. They said, well,
the media too, and instead of their intuition and actual research. And when people don't realize, like, what did we do with research papers when we were in high school, college? We didn't just look at 5 little articles on Google. We had to go research, like actually look, several different places, if it had a similar quotation, or somebody was like the same type of what would you call resource, you had to literally go dig until it was something different. And it's like, if you really want to research and get 5 different resources, it's going to take more than just 1 page on Google, kiddos.
Yeah.
By the way, I mixed up a few things real quickly. I wanted to just
go for
fix it on the spot. So, I actually have integrity. I make mistakes and I like to fix them.
And I love that you are very honest about that. Thank you.
So it was not New York Times. It was NPR, which is even worse because that's taxpayer funded.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And the article, oh my gosh, I just had it. Jeez. So I have to find the article again, but when you were talking about the research, let me just, well, I'll talk about that while I pick this out again. Here it is. Okay, found it. NPR, and this was dated October 5th, 2022 at 1:38 p.m. Eastern Time. It says, and this is the investigation category, prominent election deniers are facing growing legal trouble. Okay? And this is October 5th of 2022,
Okay.
11:28 Eastern. Same day, they actually had to fix this because they had issues, and it says, a software CEO arrested of suspicion of storing poll worker data in China.
Wow. It's good that at least one of the mainstream, fake stream, whatever media is starting to actually get some news out there instead of, the horse shit that's been spread.
But
Some of them, and some of them actually accidentally say the quiet part out loud too.
Right?
I don't know if they actually know how to say things quiet anymore.
I don't know. They're like
haven't,
stumbling over themselves so much now. It's hilarious.
Well, it's like the whole incident about the the Mar-a-Lago raid, and I was telling my mother about it, and apparently I guess mainstream media news has been spinning it a specific way, because she would say that this is her response after I told her about the Mar-a-Lago raid, and I was telling her that Trump hasn't broken any laws. He's declassified everything, so he's allowed to have it. Other presidents have done it too. So I mean,
exactly.
What's the problem? And so my mother responded by saying, well, he took papers which were given to him as president. Those papers are not his. They belong to the country, and therefore it is illegal for him to take them, especially not to return them.
How does she know that he didn't return them? Like, what did he
That is
take?
completely wrong. That is not how that law works.
And I tried to tell her that, but
The President of the United States has every right to declassify whatever he wants without ever having anybody approve it. Exactly. All he has to do is say, I declassify it. That's all he has to say. He doesn't even have to say it, actually. He could just say, I'm going to declassify it, or write it down on a piece of paper, declassified. It doesn't. The only reason that they would not be able to do so is if it already is.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we had to go after the archives. He's violating the archives. No,
brother.
Because whatever happened to the information that President Obama has, which is in a warehouse, it's still in a warehouse, and nobody's ever come from the National Archives.
Interesting. I wonder why Obama gets a free pass, but Trump doesn't.
Well, Clinton did it too. Clinton did it too. He's got papers.
Well, fascinating, huh?
Clinton actually has audio recordings of his when he was president in the Oval Office. He used to do audio recordings on a tape recorder, and he didn't have to return that. That was considered his personal items. Right. And so the original documents, they can be at the National Archive, but if he has copies of them, that's different.
Right. Exactly. And I'm sure he was smart and got copies. I mean, he wouldn't be a multi-billionaire over and over and over and over if he didn't have a little bit of a brain. And no sense.
Well, even Trump wouldn't do anything illegal anyway, and if he doesn't know how something works, he's got a whole load of staff to tell him how it works.
Right, exactly.
He's got people to help him. I mean,
he's smart to have those advisors and lawyers, and just to know the law. Again, you've got to know and understand the law to use it most people
Yeah.
don't understand how to use the law, but they want to be armchair politicians and say, oh, this person's so wrong and evil and blah, blah, blah. Okay, do a little more research.
What's that?
But
Yeah, I was even giving her the details of, the Democrats in the swamp's laundry list and, the stuff that Trump was saying. And she goes, well, he makes stuff up about everything. So, I mean, it literally, there's this thing that we call willfully keeping yourself ignorant.
right.
I mean, I think there's just at this point, because, I mean, there's just so much out there that is leaking. I mean, it's drip, 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 but it's going to get it's starting to gush out now. A lot
Right.
faster than just drip, drip, drip. And, October is supposed to, be a little bit red and,
Well,
what do you
I've
call it?
heard
Yep.
about that, but I wasn't quite sure exactly what's going on.
I'll
I mean, I
explain-
know you mentioned
I'll
something
explain that
about
in a few
like,
seconds.
oh, okay, go for it.
Go for it. Yeah.
But before that, you smelled that? Like I was saying before, you smell that? I smell somebody's creating precedent.
Uh,
They just broke into a former president's residence.
Yeah.
I guess now there's precedent for the FBI to break into a former president's residence.
Damn.
And let's see, how many former presidents are still alive? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. I wouldn't do anything with Carter because Carter's done some great work. No, but we have 3 others.
Right, and Clinton was pretty dirty and a lot of stuff he did. I mean,
Well, a
yeah,
lot-
big deal. He got the deficit and the positive. That's great. But we
But
can't
wasn't
be
him,
cool with
it
the
wasn't him
pedos
personally
either.
that did that.
Right.
It was already going. That was the end result of Reaganomics,
Mm,
Yeah.
which allowed the free flow of the markets.
right.
But that's another example of one president taking credit for another, though.
Mm-hmm.
And Biden was even doing it not too long ago. It was the same thing. All the stuff that Trump, but either they will spit on a president's actions or they will capitalize on it
Right.
and try
they'll
to take
take-
credit for it,
Oh, of course. If it's something good, by all means, take credit. I mean,
But
Yeah.
jeez.
let's talk about that Red October, shall we?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Red October, Hunted Red October, the Tom Clancy novel, right?
It's a
Yep,
good
yep.
movie too.
Was made
Yeah.
into a. It was made into
I
a
waited for
movie.
the movie. I wait for movies to come out. It's the same thing when I got, I got a dictionary one time for Christmas. I was waiting for the movie to come out for that too. So I always wait for the movie to come out when it
Dictionary
comes to
the movie.
books.
Oh crap.
Hey, it's the first letter of the English alphabet.
Yeah.
Aardvark. It is a mammal who has. Never mind.
I'm
So
still
the
waiting for
Hunter
the
Red
movie.
October. So the Hunter Red October was a book by Tom Clancy. It was eventually made into a movie, which famously starred Alec Baldwin and Sean Connery. And it was a story about hunting a Russian sub, a Soviet sub that was being chased by an American sub. And both of them had the capability of nuclear war. So the reason why that's interesting is that there was a Russian sub earlier this week which had nuclear capabilities. This was a nuclear submarine.
It is what I was going to say. Yep.
And the nuclear sub, which was going, I believe it was around the Arctic Circle, because I believe that's where its original course was. That's where it usually patrolled.
Mhm.
It
Yeah, it
disappeared.
disappeared. That's what I was reading
It
about this
disappeared.
morning.
So now we have a rogue nuclear submarine with nuclear weapons that are on it, just out in the water somewhere.
Right.
Yeah,
we
I went
don't-
this time. I don't think Alec Baldwin's involved in this one.
Well, I don't think you're going to have another submarine and ram it on the side and all of a sudden, because that's how that movie ended. Sorry, spoiler. Sorry, the movie's like 40 years old if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I think it's definitely gonna be a little bit more than a little skirmish this time.
I mean, remember last time we had an issue like that, we had missiles that were supposedly shot at Hawaii.
Right.
And then remember, we had people from Hawaii getting the seek shelter immediately.
Yeah.
Hawaii.
Jeez.
Oh,
And then you mentioned earlier as well, Sue,
Mhm.
about FEMA and the large purchase of radioactive, what was it? Like pills for radioactive poisoning?
yeah.
So probably
Radiation poisoning.
basically the stuff to keep your thyroid active and alive so it doesn't kill you on fallout. So it makes me kind of wonder what's going on.
Well, this may be quote unquote the reaction to what happened in Germany not that long ago.
Mm,
You heard about Nord Stream, right?
I did not.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a little background for people who may not be familiar. The Nord Stream pipelines, and there are two. There's Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. This is a pipeline that is connected directly to Germany from Russia. And so what Russia has been doing for the last few months is been using it almost as a bargaining tool. You want this oil? Give us a fair or favorable trade relationship between us. Guess what? You're going to freeze because we are the only oil you currently have.
Wow.
I think we were talking about this last week. Nord Stream was sabotaged. There has been multiple reports saying that there was a very violent explosion underwater which destroyed Nord Stream 1 and 2, and it's going to take months to repair for it properly. And the West right now is saying, oh, Russia did this, and now we must retaliate because of this industrial sabotage.
Oh boy.
And we're saying, hold on, there's no way that Russia did it for the reason
Right.
that they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot.
Russia's biggest bargaining tool was providing oil to the rest of Europe. You think they
Exactly.
would blow their own moneymaker right there?
Oh no.
mean,
That would be
seriously.
stupid.
It's like
Yeah.
us shooting a tire in a car, or it's like putting Coca-Cola in your gas tank.
Oof.
You know, that's just going to seize up the engine with that.
Right.
By the way, I don't endorse putting Coca-Cola in the
Yes.
engine. I just was making an example. Don't actually do that.
Please do not try this at home.
Yeah, do
Well,
not try that at home. But Coca-Cola is great in your toilet bowl if you want to try to clean it. It's got a lot of acid in it.
And Lysol is good for cleaning the floors.
Yeah.
I thought I put that in there. Anywho, yeah, so they went. Most likely, what's interesting is that you had people like Secretary Blinken and Biden both talking about, hey, Nord Stream. There's not going to be a Nord Stream. So I'm like, okay, how would you do that?
Right.
They're like, you won't have to worry about it. I'm like, okay, is this what you meant? So now they're kind of pushing us towards World War III with a nuclear holocaust.
Which is what we were worried about when I remember being in middle school and having the nuclear fallout drills that we had in school. I mean, this is so crazy again.
I'm curious now that we have, but it's concerning. And now that we have a huge amount of nuclear radiation medication being ordered, are they trying to push a scare event of some type?
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me either with the past, few viruses and everything else crap.
Because they've tried a few different things and they've all failed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I can just imagine right now because, I mean, that it's just funny how the Biden administration said, like, the whole hurricane that happened in Florida, and it said the best thing you could do right now is to get vaccinated. I can't wait to see.
But what does a vaccine have
missile
to
go-
do with the
I know. I can't.
freaking?
Exactly.
What the
But
hell?
this would be funny if, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if some missile or whatever gets blown off. He said the best way to protect yourself from a missile and a fallout is to get vaccinated. I mark my words. I bet he's going to say that.
Well, I also find it interesting how they're like, this wouldn't have happened if you all had electric vehicles.
It's crazy the weird shit that they've tried to virtue signal on people. I mean, it's just like there's no common sense these days. Like, really? Who buys this garbage? Who actually believes this shit? Because I don't. It's a
Yeah.
laughing. I mean, just
It
the
is
vaccine
ridiculous.
thing on its own, after being,
Yeah.
you know, a pre-med major, my own issues, I have vaccine damage from regular vaccines. There's no fucking way in hell I'm going to take an mRNA thing that is not even tested. I mean, basically, anyone that took the shot, you're a test subject. It sucks because I've had people that I know that it's hurt, it's made sick. Other people, they haven't noticed a whole lot, but they're still having a lot of the symptoms, like maybe sleep issues, or sometimes their heart might be having issues. They might be one issue or another, you know, and it's just detoxing and detoxing and detoxing. So I'm like, you know, there's something to this with the physicians I've talked to that say stay away from it.
So
Yeah, I think the detoxing thing is absolutely exhausting, in my opinion. It's
but it
just
sucks that we have
absolutely-
so much to
Yeah.
detox from, because I mean, the nanoparticles that we have in our sky alone from being sprayed like bugs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
By the way,
disgusting.
not a doctor, but you can use a little bit of borax for that, by the way, just a pinch in your water every single day. You know, keep the nanos away. But not a doctor or anything, but these are just some of the, you know,
From
ways
what
you can
Dr.
detox from it.
Love had said, there's an email that I had gotten from her when I was asking her on detoxing from basically the little pokey poke. Anyway, N-acetylcysteine, NAC, is one of the ones that really helps because it helps the body create glutathione. This is something that's scientifically known. So I don't have to be a doctor to tell you about this. But yet again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing anything. I am sharing information from a doctor that has actually helped me to detox. And so, you know, look it up. I'd say anybody that's got questions or you're kind of wondering, yeah, I kind of feel crappy. I do have Addison's disease. I'm just going to share a little medical history, not a lot, but I do have a lot of autoimmune issues, a lot of pain, and it can cause different problems health wise. So, you know, technically I would be high risk, but I'm still using nutrition and my body's doing fine. I'm still off of big pharma. So, you know, and I've been off of it since 2013 and doing great, cancer free. Still.
And you know, I'm off of it as well. I've had a slew of health
Awesome.
problems. We're talking about,
Yeah.
you know, we're talking about a walking pharmacy. I'm not kidding.
That's
I
the way
had
it used to
so
be.
much, you know, and I had to get off of it slowly. Here's the one thing that people are not realizing, though. We have not been taught this in school about nutrition, that food
Exactly.
is actually medicine.
It is. And
Food
it used
is
to be
medicine.
something that was taught
And
to
you
us.
know, if you weren't feeling, you know, if you weren't feeling well in certain ailments or whatever, they would give you a specific food item to help you balance yourself back up.
Well, and
You know,
that's
if
still
you-
what my naturopath does.
Yeah.
If I'm unbalanced, he'll be like, "Oh, let's figure out what you're low on, or you know, what's your deficiency, and let's fix it."
Yeah, and like iron for me, I don't really have to take iron pills. That is an option, absolutely. But you know, I felt, you know, kind of sluggish, and I figured, you know, you can also check on yourself. You don't always need a doctor to check you.
Right.
You
Exactly.
can actually meditate, go into
Common
yourself, and
sense.
ask, "Hey, what do I need?" Your body is going to tell you. You have a higher self that will tell you
Absolutely.
that there's something wrong. And my body said, "You're low on iron." So what I do, I started eating some red beets. You know, that has a lot of iron, and I took a little bit of molasses as well. You know, kind of as a double whammy. So,
And
you
for
know,
those that want some meat, you can eat some liver,
yeah.
which has also got vitamin D3 and vitamin K, which is excellent for the immune system. And you know, like
Oh,
you
I
want
love
to do
liver and
red meat.
onions.
Red meat. Oh, you know, I really actually like that too. You
Yeah.
know, we were raised on that organ meat. I know sometimes it's like you think about it, ooh, gross, whatever, yada yada. But if you actually look at the nutrients that's in some of that organ meat, you'd be surprised. And I don't always do it, but when I do, I definitely can notice a difference, whether it's red meat, beets, liver, whatever. I can definitely tell a difference when my body starts to drop, like you're saying, when you get that anemia or anything else, you know.
Yeah.
We can definitely learn about so much about our bodies and how we work by following nutrition. So it's like, it makes one think, why is it that the agenda is pushing so hard for us to do these things? And then they virtue signal, do your part by blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, but you doing something like that to your body, it doesn't matter what you're doing to your body. It's not going to affect somebody else to their health wise. It's insanity, absolute insanity. And it's just like selling this product like that. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but those of us that have actually been around a couple of days around this planet and actually researched, and yes, I was a pre-med major and I have studied nutrition and I do have a certificate in nutrition. And it's just like, it's mind boggling. The horse shit, the absolute horse shit that's on the media.
It is. Look what they're doing for our lungs. They want us to reduce our CO2. No, we don't need to reduce it. We need to create more of it. The more of that we have actually on the planet, the
Will
better the
help.
trees are, the
Yes.
plants are, everything,
We'll
and
have
all that.
more oxygen.
All of that. Yeah. Because we have a symbiotic relationship with the plants, you know?
Yes,
The CO2
ma'am.
we give out, the trees give out the oxygen, round and round it goes. And, you know, look at what they're doing. They're cutting down trees like crazy everywhere. And there's
And
people
then they
that are
don't
pushing
replant.
back. Yeah, and there's people pushing back saying, why don't we do hemp, bamboo, and all these other
Yes.
materials that can grow a hell of a lot faster in a short amount of time and, you know, do all the same jobs.
It's amazing
I'm-
even what hempcrete
you-
can do. I mean,
I'm a huge supporter of hemp plastics.
yes, hemp
Yeah.
plastics, hempcrete. I mean, there's so many things that you can
They,
do.
yeah,
Hemp by itself, clothing. You can make like roadways. I mean,
Yeah.
it goes for food, medicine. Holy cow! You know, skin
yeah.
products,
Right now,
oil.
one of the latest things, the latest plastic, like for, you know, how we have plastic, you know, forks, knives, spoons, silverware and stuff, plastic plates like for picnicware. They've been making that out of the avocado pits.
Oh, that's so cool. I like
So you
that.
can get those, and it's kind of a plasticky feel, you know, if you will. So there's all these other materials out there that, and it's just that, but there's all this propaganda, and I have people, I've spent a whole week dealing with people on Twitter here that are talking about we need to reduce our CO2s and that we,
Right.
you know, we need to have the solar panels up and all these wind turbines. And I said, did you listen to what the WEF said? Is that what you're saying? And I said, yeah, that's what they got the info from that last get together that they all had. And I said, you know,
Right.
these guys all showed up on private jets and these guys have houses by the water. I really don't think they're believing what they're spitting out, you know? And this one guy, it was really sad. He was actually saying, well, I don't have very much to lose. I don't really, you know, have, you know, much to give up. But, you know, I'm fine with giving up whatever I have to give up in order for, you know, Earth to be able to reduce
Right.
their, and I'm just like, you should never have to give up anything. Not
Right.
even your freedom, your life, or any part of your life to actually be able to do the things that you normally need to do on this planet. That's not how this works.
Exactly.
But they're convincing people, hey, just give up a little bit of something of yours to, you know, help this whole earth. That's what they mean by do your part.
Well,
And
that's exactly how grooming works in MK
Yeah.
Ultra. And they always target the youth and the younger generations as well. So
yeah, well,
great.
they play on your guilt. They play on your guilt because everybody is very sweet and very nice people out there. There's tons
Well,
of
yeah,
people
we
that
all
are,
have very
and so they play
sweet.
on those nice and kind emotion. Of course, we want to help the earth,
Absolutely. I
right?
would love to see
You know,
things change in the world and people be healthier. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's got to start from the base, though. And if we're being fed lies and inappropriate information, like Agenda 21, or now what, 3030, or however they're
Maybe
stretching it
2030.
out,
yeah, 2015.
and then also Codex Alimentarius, which basically, in a nutshell, was I'm trying to think, a bill that was allowing the FDA to regulate everything just to their whim, kind of like with the media doing the propaganda that they do. So basically teaching people that things that are good for them are bad and things that are bad for them are good because it profits the industry. If you're
Yeah.
sick, you make money. And that's one of the things over and over and over and over that they do.
They will actually play on your emotions so bad. This is what they do. They will do things to make you feel bad. Feeling bad actually makes them money. When we feel bad about how we look at what the beauty industry has spent, you know?
Mhm.
Look how much money the beauty industry has made. You know, the makeup, the face product, the hair products and everything. And
Right.
plastic surgeries, boob jobs and everything, whatever. It's money. They make you feel bad in order to make money. And it's the same thing when it comes to whatever it is you eat, whatever it is you drink. Well, what have they done? It makes you feel bad. When it makes you feel bad, what are you going to do? You're going to run to the doctor. What's the doctor going to do? Write up some sort of prescription. Well, that's making money. Everything that they do has to do with making money. So when you see these things on TV and they talk about go do this and go do that, see how much money it's actually making these people.
Right.
Then you'll be able to see through the facade that they pump out, making it sound like that they care when they don't. Remember, they will create these problems and then they will have a solution already.
And that goes in so many areas too. I mean, not just
Yeah.
politics, not just medicine. It goes for religion, all of these things. You look at the preachers, look at the prophets, look at the apostles, look at the whoever's. These guys are like six-figure income earners or more. And it's like, whoa, there are people starving and they're out there preaching, oh, donate 10% of your income more to be more poor, forcing things and shaming. And there's so much abuse and stress that people are sick. I mean, just in Utah, from what I've seen and understood and experienced myself, I mean, there's so many depressed people out here. And my ex-husband was a psychologist. He said that the most depressed people, there's actually more people in the state of Utah that take antidepressant medication. I mean, what's religion doing to us? This is just one religion, example. But I mean, all of it, you go to all of these different things, just like you're saying, politicians flying around in their jets, being driven around in their limos, or their chauffeurs, or, if you want to truly lead by example. And yes, I'm not religious, but I do follow different teachings because I think that they're wise, like Buddha, Yeshua, or Jesus Christ. If you're going to lead by example and be a way shower, you need to be doing what you're saying and not just talking.
If you really want to go by the biblical stuff, if you watch Jesus and the disciples,
Oh, absolutely.
they didn't really carry much with them or anything.
No.
Jesus appeared in the Bible. He didn't have any possessions. He trusted that the universe had his back, and he would just wander around, and people would just automatically feed him, take care of him, give him a place to stay or whatever. Him and his disciples. I mean, so they're right there. They didn't believe in material possessions, and there were people that were constantly trying to give him money. It's like, give it to the poor,
Well, the media has been misconstruing things, just like with the Jesus thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
Think of the media back then, what, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, however far back you want to go.
Yeah.
2000, for example, with Jesus. So he gets killed. I'm just going to do a nutshell version. Christians want to believe he was resurrected. Gnostics and some other groups want to believe, he went to France and Egypt and had some more children with Mary Magdalene, his wife. There's a lot of different stories. That doesn't matter regardless. When you actually look at the meat and bones of these stories, these people really truly were using the law of manifestation, the law of attraction.
Yeah.
And they were using truth. And it has nothing to do with, any type of a religion thing. It's just, be honest, be a good person, show the truth out there. We can have peace. We can create
the Bible
miracles.
actually admits all of that, but a lot of people spin it around.
It's all about keeping us in slavery, in fear of what's going to be happening to us. If you're afraid you're going to go to hell because you slept with somebody that you're not married to, I mean, what kind of life is that to live? If you really truly love somebody and you're committed to that person, it doesn't matter if you have a piece of paper saying that that's your spouse or not. In fact, the marriage certificate is a legal binding for a man to own a woman. Not cool. That's slavery. That's servitude. So, some people understand those things. I will never get married again because of that. But I have a very committed husband. He and I live together. We love each other, you know. And so when you start to learn about laws, about soul contracts, about energy contracts, it's crazy how much value they can hold and how much power they can hold when you can understand how to not only use the law for your benefit, because we can actually get these people not just in prison, but can you imagine what the tribunals can do and have been doing? I mean, I'm wondering how many have been put to death already. And I'm wondering when it's going to actually be televised. I really, truly believe it's going to be televised. I still don't know how I feel. I was a huge Q follower for a long time. Right now, I'm kind of back and forth, like, okay, you know, I'll watch. I'm not totally sure, you know, whatever. There's so many false flags and things, loose lips, sink ships.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot of different things to consider. Yes, I have a lot of broad ranges I'm bringing out here, but I think it comes to the singular point of how often are we being bamboozled or deceived, not even realizing it, because we're allowing ourselves to be ignorant by just accepting what the media tells us or what our preacher tells us, or even what our parents told us. And I, you know, with respect, I love my parents. I don't agree on a lot of, you know, everything with them, but I do love and honor and respect my parents to the point, you know, if I'm going to have some negative argument with them, I would rather just not. So I'm not going to talk about that because I'm not going to be disrespectful. But, you know, what can we do to educate ourselves? You know, Alex, what would you suggest for somebody that's just learning about these things? Maybe they came across this webcast and they're just like, whoa, what's going on? What would you suggest? Where would you start to really find the truth and not just be digging on Google's horse shit or the media? You know, what's going to really show them what the media is tripping on now? And they're going to be even more so.
That is a very difficult question to ask.
I know.
Because it's very depending on who you are and your current belief systems and things like that. So I think I'll use a personal example. The way I really started doing things is that I looked at things that interest me. So that was politics, it was science, it was history. And you start look at what I was doing is I was starting to look at what contradicted each other. And I went to different sources. I watched a lot of YouTube videos at the time. I moved a lot to Rumble at this point because it's much better. But just research. And before you know it, you're going to find out there are certain things that just contradict itself. And so that is kind of your rabbit hole right there. Okay. So one of the things I was interested was dealing with climate change. All right. What if people talked about when it came to climate change? Oh, well, the world is going to burn or it's going to flood because of human interaction. Okay. Is
Alex,
Uh-oh.
you just blanked out at human interaction and then it stopped. And so could you basically start there when you come back?
OAA, and they are one of the authorities when it comes to meteorological studies.
And which was that again? Because it cut out right before the meteorological studies.
This is NOAA.
NOAA, okay. NOAA, is that what you were saying?
NOAA, and they are one of the major one of the major organizations that deal with meteorological studies. Right? They have said on record that there is no verifiable information to prove that, for example, hurricanes are getting more strong and more plentiful.
Right.
There's certainly no evidence to prove that. So that's like, NOAA is saying that. Who else is saying that? and then you can go, and then after that you can just start branching out from there. So it's really all it takes is like one key point. If you can find one verifiable source like NOAA when it comes to weather, which is, if you're going to use weather, you're going to use NOAA or the National Weather Service. You're not going to go to newspapers. You're not going to go to universities. You may go to universities, but I would stay with the major organizations that every person listens to.
I like that. I like that suggestion.
Just
Really
go to
go
the
to
National
the
Weather.
source.
The two places for weather is NOAA and the National Weather Service. Those are the only two I would use when it comes to weather or climate, because they actually have charts, and you can look at these charts and see the evidence for yourself. Politics. That one's a much more difficult because each person can have their own point of view on things. So that one I recommend that would be more for an intermediate or expert player in this world. Weather is definitely the easiest way to go through things, because if you're going to do politics, that's just a rabbit hole that is going to be that's a deep
That's a really deep
I
one.
still don't totally understand everything with politics. This is why you're on the show, Alex, because I'm not one of those experts, and you definitely do the research, and I'm very impressed, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
No problem. So that's what I would generally recommend personally, is look at something that you're interested in and just research the hell out of it. Pardon my language.
Yeah, you want to follow the money and follow the people.
Like, but also, if you want to have some fun, and this doesn't all have to be just you constantly burning the midnight oil. You can have some fun with this, okay? One of my favorite things to do is watch weather for weather. Having how sometimes they have their you have the broadcasters are outside or in the middle of a storm.
All right.
Some of those are.
Oh my God, the last one was funny.
You'll have many times. You'll in recent history within the last 5 years, right? You'll have these people. They're outside. Oh, the wind is blowing super hard, and you have a guy behind you. They're just casually walking in a windbreaker.
Yeah.
Or another one's like, oh, the water is so deep, it's up to my ankle. And then there was one time a guy walked up to that guy. He's like, why are you in the puddle?
Yeah.
It's like, it was really funny because it was when you actually. So what happened was that a guy went over to that location where the broadcaster was. It was a pothole.
Oh my God.
So
That's
apparently
how BS they are.
That road was actually closed because they were doing repairs on the road.
Wow.
So anyway, so yeah, that's how you can have some fun. This hasn't always had to be serious, super.
Right.
That is I think is the biggest pitfall for a lot of people who are looking at these
No
things.
pun intended. You just talked about pothole. Now you're saying pitfall.
Right? Pitfall. It's the pitfall of the pothole. That's what you need to do. You need to make this fun, entertaining, and motivating, because no one's going to motivate you besides this. I mean, no one's going to motivate you besides you. So make it interesting. Have some incentive. If you don't have incentive, then there's no reason you're doing it unless you want to intentionally do this for your own. I don't know. Maybe just like making yourself miserable by reading papers and papers and papers and papers and papers and papers. Yeah. Oh, by the way, about that research you were talking about before.
Yes.
Remember how you used to source your information and not use Wikipedia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now people are apparently you don't have to source it the way we used to source it, and they're allowing Wikipedia in research papers.
Oh wow, they never let us do that. And like, oh my God, when I was in college, they were like, you have to actually go to the library. We don't want you on the internet for this. You get the hard book, the encyclopedia, whatever. You search it, and I was like making what do you call it? Photocopies.
And you remember how everything had to be peer reviewed?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently a lot of schools, when it comes to research papers, they don't have to be peer reviewed. And it used to be, I remember you had to have a minimum of 3 sources, a bare minimum. If you're doing a small, like 3 to 5 page paper, It was
Right.
3 sources, and they had to be sourced and they had to be cited properly.
Yep.
And then you needed, I think the rule of thumb was every 2 to 3 pages you had to have an additional source. So I remember one time I had I had a final paper, and it was a 15-page paper, and I was talking about the dangers of Pearson on the educational system. And I think it was a 15-page paper, and at the end of the day,
Jeez.
I think because I was just so into it, I had 10 sources with it.
Doesn't surprise me. Some of those can get pretty hefty.
And
I've done a few medical papers like that when we would have
Yeah.
to do different, say I was studying knee injuries one day. We would have to go study what kind of knee injuries can you possibly have, and if you have an ACL tear as opposed to a PCL tear or whatever, or if one of your meniscus gets torn, or it's we had to explain those kind of things and how you would treat it, or if you had to do surgery, or if you could do non-surgical. And it was seriously like that. Yeah, it would be 10, 15 citations, because you have to be able to explain it in a way that not just the science is behind it, but proven mechanism of it. You're actually doing it, and it's successfully treating somebody, healing them, or it's helping somebody, to be better.
And each source had to be for one particular thing. One source could be what were the methods that they were using, and the second source could be, okay, when was this method instituted, and 3 could be when was this method and source introduced to the public market, things like that. Basically, it's your citations are your roadmap to give people so that if they're interested in it, they can follow you.
Right.
It's if you're so if you're hiking, I know this is a completely out of the blue analogy, but when you're hiking, you have blazes on trees.
Right.
Okay. And for people who are not familiar, blazes are basically spray paint on a tree. And depending on which color it is, and depending on how many there are, depends on what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
so sometimes it could be
the tree marks.
colored
That's called tree
strings or
marks.
colored marks. Sometimes there's ties that are colored, pink or orange or different things like that.
So, for example, if you're in the Appalachians, and I know people are going to be angry because I said Appalachians, not Appalachia. But sorry, New Jersey, and not sorry.
I say Appalachian too.
But blue, a single blue blaze means you continue going. 2 blue blazes means that you are turning, and 3 blue blazes means that you are at the beginning or end of the particular trail.
Yeah.
Wow. Yep.
And that's just from me hiking with my grandmother when I was growing up. I used to do it all the time over at the Delaware Water Gap.
Wow, that's awesome.
Some fun memories.
That is a place I would love to talk about in a future segment, because that is a beautiful area.
Fun. That's awesome.
Sounds beautiful. I've been out east a couple times, and it is. I don't deal well with the humidity, and the bugs. It's gorgeous. I love it in the winter time, because I can handle the cold. I'm a snow baby, and I love the snow, I can totally handle the winter.
I mean, you're in higher elevation, so I'm not surprised you're familiar with the cold.
Right. Well, and when I go to work at Snowbird, I'm at 11,000 feet. It's such a blast. Oh God, if you guys ever come out, you have to go to Snowbird. It's gorgeous. It's so beautiful. I love it.
I had issues when I was in Spokane.
Really?
I had issues.
Do you get that altitude sickness? My mom does.
So I'm basically near sea level. I think I'm 250 feet above sea level.
Mm-hmm.
And Spokane is just about 2,500.
Right, and we're about, I think, 4,000 to 5,000 feet up here in Salt Lake.
So you see where the issue is. I'm going up over 2,000 feet in the air.
You're gonna be lightheaded, feel like you're gasping for air.
The problem wasn't when I was there. It was when I got home.
Really? Why was that?
So my ears never popped when I got home. because you know how
Oh,
your
wow.
you know how the fluid in your ear pops after hitting a
Uh-huh.
certain altitude. It never
Yeah.
popped.
Wow.
And so basically, I felt like I had water in my ears for hours.
No, that would suck so bad.
And so I had to. Luckily I was home for a few days so I could decompress.
Wow. So you have like a reverse altitude sickness. That's interesting. My
Well,
mom gets it when she goes high. While she's up there, she has to take some pill that my dad gets a prescription for her. He's a
well, I'm
doctor, but
guessing
it's
it's
just
I'm
weird.
guessing
Oh
it's
my
because
goodness.
my father's side, the men in the family, and I believe it's only the first male or the eldest, or
Some
I don't
interesting
know exactly how they work.
epigenetics there.
But they have something.
Hey,
Disease is
Alex, you're cutting out again. They have a disease that what?
Meniere's disease.
Meniere's disease?
Meniere's disease.
Oh, Meniere's disease.
Yeah, it's basically it's when there is not the normal amount of fluid in the ear that deals with balance. So my grandfather and my father have it, and I was suspected of having a mild case of it growing up.
Wow. Dang
I
it,
would
I'm
think that would
sorry.
hurt.
That's yeah, that would really I think that would be too. That'd be painful.
It doesn't affect me too much, except when I'm dealing with
That's
altitude.
good.
Right.
But
Is
besides that,
there anything that you could do to help with your decompression, or you just have to go through
I
that?
just it's kind of like eating a hot chili pepper. You just have to ride it through.
Oh, dang it, I'm sorry, bud. Shoot.
It hasn't bothered me. That's why I don't go to higher elevations usually.
Dang.
Anywho, that's enough about me and my personal life.
Well, we love learning about you. You're an awesome person. God, guys, this was a really awesome, deep discussion tonight. I like this. Was there anything else you guys wanted to add to tonight? Anything that you think we missed? You'd like to comment? Anybody in the audience too, by the way, we do have a call-in that's always available. You can see on the screen down below. You can always participate if you ever want to as well. I forgot to say that in the past few shows, but yeah, we do have a live call-in whenever we do our shows. And so we would love to hear from you guys as well if you found something in this conversation fascinating or have our commentary, even if you disagree. We love to have good conversation with respect, because we can all have disrespect, like we can all have respect and have disagreements, yet come to an understanding of each other even better. And I think that's by doing that we can find a lot more peace in this planet. And I do that quite often. There's people that I have deep conversations on very touchy subjects, but we do it very respectfully, and I honor those people, and that's awesome. I love that.
Yep, I agree.
Yes.
I think best way to deal with touchy and uncomfortable topics, even taboo topics, is to have an open conversation about things. That way, you can.
And ask a lot of questions so you understand how the other person really feels.
That was another thing when it came to having if you wanted to do your own personal research when it comes to a lot of stuff, never stop asking the question why, what, when, where, how, stuff like that. Never stop asking it. It's going to annoy the hell out of people when you do that. That just means you're doing your job when you do that, right? Keep on asking those questions, because
Short circuit an NPC today.
Yeah, Alex, why does it annoy the hell out of people?
Why?
Yeah.
Because you're challenging them.
Why?
Why are you? Oh, very funny. You're challenging me. How dare you?
How dare you?
Well, yeah. So we have this idea of in a lot of circles that if you ask these things and you're being rude or disrespectful, or just generally being against the acceptable behavior, So that's the problem, is that we're just so socially acceptable to just allowing things happen at face value that when you actually start asking questions, all of a sudden you're supposed to feel bad.
Right.
Why? Because there you go, I'm asking the question why. Why does it make people upset or what? Because sometimes the reason why they don't want to ask you, don't want you to ask those questions, is because the answer is not exactly squeaky clean or fun or good to hear. Sometimes it can be very dark, gritty, morose, macabre.
Right.
And you might have not wanted to hear that again, but at least you understand why something happened the way it did. So, okay, that asking to never stop asking it, but remember that there are times when you have to decide when to do so. It's not something you do all the time, but do it, when you really need to get extra information about something. I should be kind of careful with how I say that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things to keep in mind that I want to add is that actually, when you do any kind of research, when you listen to the news, read the newspaper, listen to the radio, or even when you hear other people talk, the one thing you have to see is what is behind the agenda, and that's why it goes back to asking why, is because are they asking for money? If they're asking for money, where's the money going?
Right.
If the situation is asking you to do something, what will happen if you decide not to do it?
What would
these are
happen
the
if you do it?
Yeah, decide not to do it or do it. And so when you listen to what's going on in the world, it is good to question what the agenda behind it. And a lot of people are saying, agenda. What do you mean agenda? They got these reasons because they care. How do you know they care about you? How do you know the establishment is looking out for your best interest? And really ask questions, especially when you hear them shut down one side. They shouldn't be able to shut down anyone. You should be able to hear from all sides of the discussion. So that is a red flag right there. If you see a particular side shutting down the other side, especially during, for example, the whole sickness that we all had to deal with, what do? They shut down the one side when they talk about other kinds of ways of treating it besides having the needle LC, method or way of handling it. So when they talk about treatments and therapeutics, they said, no, we're going to shut down, we're going to delete your page, we're going to, make sure you don't end up on the air again, we'll get you fired from your job or whatever. When you hear these things happen to people, then you have to question, why are they doing that? There's, especially on the stuff that was going on in the world, there was a lady, I don't remember her name, unfortunately. That's actually one of my biggest problems. If you noticed on the show here, I have trouble naming people sometimes, and dates and places that we have Alex for.
You're human too.
Yeah,
I do that.
I'm just I just have so much trouble. I can just remember as a lady, but she was she's actually has her own channel, and she was talking about all the Qs, the 17s, and everything all about what we talk about. But apparently they threatened her, it appears, because she would turn around another day and say, "Oh no, it was all fake. It was all made up. I made it up." And when you hear people get shut down, that's something that you need to question.
Right.
When you hear people especially pass away the next day after they bought something out, that's another red flag. Especially when you hear a lot of friends of the Clintons have disappeared. It has always been raising red flags. So, but you gotta look for motive. You gotta look for whether they're asking you for money. What are they asking you to do? If they're asking you to give something up, why? So you have to ask. So definitely asking questions. And then you don't just say, well, just because they're the government, they're sitting high up on the food chain here, we gotta listen to them. Well, wait a minute. Why do you have to totally listen to them? You do realize that they work for us, not the other way around. And lately they've been kind of acting like they're our parents, giving us curfew. siphoning our money, our allowances, if you will, that they treat it like it's an allowance, taking certain freedoms away, but they're calling them privileges. Take a look at the behavior.
Right. Really awesome points, Sue. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
It does make sense, if you really pay attention. What are people doing? And all you Christians out there, think about it. By their works, you will know them. What are they doing? How's their actions? What are they creating? Where's their money going? Like Sue said, like I've said in the past, like Alex has said, follow these trails. That's what we've been meaning by follow the money, by follow who they're going to. If somebody's dealing with the mafia, you gotta be questioning what their morals might be.
Well, especially now that we have the institution that we've been raised on. Especially, it doesn't matter if it's religion or the government. What's the one thing they want from you? What's the one thing that we've been noticing? They constantly want you dependent on them. Religion has been asking you to be dependent on having God save you, Jesus save you. There's somebody that'll pull you out, dust your clothes off for you, and
Right.
it's the same thing with what the government's doing. We will pull you out of this. We will dust you off. We will get you new this. We will get you new that. But here's the catch: it's going to cost your money for it to be done. Then, so that's the things that you got to kind of watch out for. Is this whole savior complex?
Right. We got to do the work. We got to
Yeah.
do the work.
You got to pull yourself out of it. You can pull yourself out of any situation, whether it's financial, whether it's spiritual, whether it's just everyday life stuff. That's why we have these practices that we talk about on the show. We talk to you about meditation. We talk to you about how food is meditated. We talk to you about all sorts of things to help you pull yourself out of it. And the reason why they want you dependent on them, because they're teaching you that you don't need to be responsible for yourself. And they say, be dependent on us. We'll be responsible for you. But that's not how life works.
No.
You got to take responsibility for yourself, whatever it is you decide to do. That includes that whether you decided to take the icky stuff that they offer you, that is on you. That is not on them. They can say whatever they want, but it's always up to you to decide what to do with that information.
Exactly. Wow. A lot of deep things to consider, to think about. Guys, thank you so much again for doing this show with me. I learn so much every time we do this. I'm really honored. And thank you, Katie, in the background. We love you. You're amazing. You guys, I hope you have an awesome week.
We want to thank you. Thank the viewers. We're not going to be
Yes.
anywhere without you guys.
Absolutely. A lot of you guys, thank you. We love you. Heck yeah, rock and roll. Let's have an awesome weekend and an awesome week, guys. See you next
Lots of
time.
love to everyone. Bye.
Love you.